Hello. Um, as I said in my video that I just did, that probably as many people watched as are going to watch this one, which is to say nobody, and certainly nobody who's watching this one would have watched that one. It's late, and I'm doing this late because tomorrow I won't have time to do it, and so I'm doing it tonight. And as I said in the other video also, it's probably the closest I will come this month to doing a Monsters at Midnight, like I did all month last month. So this is the Are You Afraid of Darks? The episodes are Quicksilver and the Crimson Clown. They were a couple of weird ones. But Quicksilver guest starred, the guest star was Tatiana Ali, who is she plays Will Smith's cousin Ashley in the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. And she has a dual role as twins in this one, which amused me because later on, somewhere down the line, where are they? We have, I know they're there, or maybe they're in the, no, there they are. So later down on the line, we have Tia and Tamara Mowry guest starring, and they are twins, famous twins of the 90s, but they don't show up until, is that season 4 or season 5? Now I've lost the place again. It's season 5. So it'll be fun to see them, but Ashley Banks was one of my favorite parts of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. So it was fun to see her. She's not the main character, but I guess because of Fresh Prince, she was a big get for them. So it's a Kiki story, but we start with Tucker fooling around with a magic flute that's supposed to bring rain that he took from his dad's magic shop. He's of course Gary's brother, and Gary says, "You're not supposed to take dad's stuff." And I said out loud to the TV, to Gary, "But you take his stuff all the time. All of your stories, you bring props from your dad's shop." But you know, older brothers, they will blame younger brothers for things that they do. They're allowed to do it because they are the older brothers. Anyway, Kiki's story is about magic, and you never know. You got to do magic right. You never know what could happen if you meddle with magic. That is the intro to her story and the lesson of her story. So it starts with, it's not a flashback. It is in sequence. Tatiana Ali, she's drawing a chalk door, chalk rectangle on the wall, and she's chanting, and she's got an instrument, and she's trying to, looks like she does this, and a demon or a ghost comes out of the wall, and that she's trying to get it into the amulet. It won't go into the amulet, and it kind of engulfs her and takes her away. And then we move on to moving day, and Aaron and Doug Johnson and their mother, whose name I never, and their father. I think it's only a mother in the next one. This has a mother and father, and I don't know if we ever see them again after the first scene. But Aaron is the older brother, just like me, and Doug is the younger brother, and they move in, and they're getting acquainted with their space, and we hear that Aaron likes to scare Doug with ghost stories. And then we see their first night in the new house, and their beds start shaking. And they wake up as their beds are shaking, and they see that there's a bunch of stuff. Their stuff has been stacked in a corner, and they blame each other. But the parents, I guess we see the parents again, and they blame Aaron as the more likely culprit because he has a habit again of teasing and scaring Doug. So skip ahead to Aaron's first day at his new school. As he's walking through the classroom, weird things are happening. Wind is blowing papers around. His desk floats. His pencil rolls to the front of the room on its own accord, and he chases it. And his teacher is not happy about this. But he sits down next to, once again, Tatiana Ali, this time playing Connie. That she actually gets a name this time. And so we have that whole scene of an embarrassing first day of school. And then he meets up with Doug after school and they go home. And then we see him dreaming again. And this time he is, it's kind of an out of body dream. Like he is in his dream twice. He's in his dream asleep, and he's in his dream, walking around. Or maybe it's his real body. I don't want to get into it. But in addition to him and his brother in their shared room, and both of these episodes have sets of brothers in a shared room, he sees the other Tatiana Ali. But he says, Connie? And she's not Connie. And he watches her do the ritual that we've already watched her do. And then right before the end, she looks at him and she says, I did it wrong, which is where I remembered the episode. Or I was wrong, or I did it wrong, something like that. That's where I remembered the episode. Always fun to see what small detail will get that. And then he wakes up, possibly screaming. And Doug is up as well. And his necklace, which is his uncle or grandfather's silver wings, is next to his bed, and it kind of starts crawling along the surface of the bed table and then down the bed table and then along the floor. And then he dives after it and kind of runs into the base of the wall and knocks the what's the part of the wall that's at the very bottom. It kind of sticks out a little extra, whatever that's called. He knocks that wainscoting, I want to say, but I'm not sure. He knocks that and he pulls out a yearbook and he's flipping through it, or maybe a page is marked, and he sees Laura Turner. And he knows that Connie, I think he knows that Connie's last name is Turner. So the next day at school, he asks her, and she's really not happy to be asked about Laura Turner. And he says, I'm not trying to be a problem. I just wanted to ask you, is she related to you? Is she your grandmother's? She was my twin sister, Connie says. The yearbook is burnt up and it's hidden under the wall, so they think that it's very old, but actually it's Connie's twin sister. It's only a couple of years. She disappeared mysteriously. So, and then while this is going on, Doug is reading a book about ghosts where apparently a Quicksilver, and I didn't look this up, but Quicksilver, which is the name of the episode, is a teenage girl ghost. Like, I didn't know there was a specific word for a teenage girl ghost, but it's Quicksilver. So, what is that? Has limit. House was built on a cemetery. So Connie tells the story of how Laura got disappeared. Laura found out that the house was built on a cemetery, and she realized it was haunted, and nobody would believe her. So she decided she had to get the ghost out herself, and she got sick in the process of doing this. And we already know what happened. She tried to get the ghost out, but the ghost won. And meanwhile, Doug is getting sick. He's reading about the ghost. He reaches for his glass of water because he's sick. You should hydrate. And his water is empty, and he says, I don't want to get up and get it. And then his water glass refills on its own, which freaks him out. So Aaron tells Connie, I think that Laura wants us to try this again, to have a second chance to get the ghost, because she told me she did it wrong, so we can just make sure we do it right. It doesn't say, because she didn't say specifically what she did wrong. And it was here where I started recognizing Doug's voice. And I looked it up, and the guest star, Stuart Stone as Doug Johnston. I clicked on Stuart Stone, and sure enough, Ralphie from the Magic School Bus, which I had determined, just like I discovered Phoebe in the previous episode. And so that's another wonderful connection between the two. I wonder how many more of those I will find. It's great to recognize their voices. It took me longer this time, but still. So they try to correct the ritual. but it doesn't work. This time the ghost steals Doug, who is sick. And turns out that they'd been using a spoon, but the spell called for silver. So he takes off his wings, sticks it on their stick, and this time it works. Doug is returned, but Laura only comes back as a ghost to take the amulet, I suppose, to store the real ghost. And I guess it makes sense. It's been a couple of years since she died, and she was sick, and she wouldn't have gotten better, but still, it feels unfair that Doug got to come back and she didn't. We exit the story, uh, and Kiki says, make sure you do magic right, and Tucker plays the flute better than he'd been playing it before. The story started, and it starts to rain. Everybody flees. The rain puts out the fire. The fire doesn't go out in the next episode, and it's a little weird why. Um, the Tale of the Crimson Clown. The episode starts with Frank asking Sam out. And remember, Frank was the one who was, you're a girl, but you're masculine. I guess they all were, but he was the most free. He was the one who she gave him a firm handshake and brushed his hand. And meanwhile, Tucker and Gary are having a thing again. Tucker found a poem that Gary had written, and so in order to not have it revealed, but he was blackmailed, Gary has to carry Tucker around and do anything he wants. So, which leads Gary. The theme of his story is what goes around comes around, which is telling. So he goes into it. So it's a Christmas time, even though the episode aired in April. And again, these two brothers, did I ever write down their names? Sam and Michael. The older one's Michael, the younger one's Sam. They go shopping. They say, Michael says, we have to get a gift for Mom. So they go shopping for a gift for Mom. Sam kind of ditches while Michael looks around the store with the nice things, the nice decorative things. And Michael's finding all these things that he could get. And the proprietor of the store comes around and says, well, what's your budget? He says, oh, $70. And so the proprietor starts helping him look, and they find this figurine that he likes, and he says, how much for this? And the proprietor says, for you, $50. And I said to the malevolent supernatural force, I don't aspire to retail, but if I were going to work in retail, I'd want that kind of job where I could just adjust the price based on how much I liked the person. Which is not to say that I would go up if I didn't like the person, but I'd have a set price, but I'd have the freedom to say, you know what, I like you, so I'm going to knock it down a little bit. I guess that's resale, consignment, secondhand shops, that sort of thing is where that can happen. But Michael doesn't have the money because Sam took the money from him and went to another store and bought a Sega Genesis game. And this began my confusion about what video games Sam has, because he bought a Sega Genesis game, but then they go back to the house, he goes up to his room, he has a Nintendo. And maybe he had a Nintendo and a Sega. Or maybe the Nintendo boxes were similar to Sega, but it definitely looked like my old Sega cartridge containers. And the console that he had was without a doubt a Nintendo. Anyway, they go to return the game to get the money back and then buy the decoration, but the toy store is closed. So they go back home disappointed, and the older brother makes up a story about, he just looks, there's this weird clown doll in the gift shop where he was looking for a gift for his mom, and he makes up on the spot a boogeyman story for his brother, saying, if you aren't good to people, if you're rude or you're dishonest, the Crimson Clown will come to get you, which is essentially karma. But he just makes it up on the spot. And Sam doesn't believe it at first, I don't think, but then right after we see that he has a Nintendo, we see the Crimson Clown, the same clown doll, appears on his desk looking at him, and then he goes away, he comes back, clown's gone, but now it's under his bed. We see it, he doesn't, but it is hanging around. Um, and sorry. Um, Later on, Sam is watching TV. I guess he's a little sleepy. An arm reaches out of the TV, a red arm, the clown's arm, and then disappears when, again, uh, Michael and his mom come in, and then he's sitting on the steps. He goes upstairs because he's younger, so he has to go to bed first. He's sitting on the stairs while Mike tells his mom that he made up the clown story, and his mom is saying, "Oh well, now you freaked him out. He's sensitive about that sort of thing." Um, and Sam then goes to his room. His door is difficult to open. He opens it. The whole place has been trashed. But I noticed on the wall he has a Sonic the Hedgehog 2 poster, and that was a Sega Genesis game. It was the first one that I ever played. It came with our Sega Genesis. So now I'm looking around the room. He must have a Sega Genesis 2, or why would he have the poster? Anyway, I saw that Zebo's House was the name of the game that he bought. I wonder if Zebo is a clown in some other episode. He cleans up his room and then goes to bed. Mike comes to bed, comes up eventually. They share a room, and he tells Sam the clown story is not real. But then Sam has a nightmare, and he thinks he's woken up from the nightmare, but he is then tied with red ribbons, clown ribbons, to his bed, and the clown is under the covers, working his way up. And I thought, this little suggestive. Um, uh, Sam eventually escapes his bed. He goes over to Mike, pulls Mike's covers. It's the clown. And the clown's head is a balloon. It starts inflating. It explodes. There are particles. What do you call them? Glitter. Not glitter. Something. I like the stuff that rains in Times Square during New Year's Eve. Confetti. So let's see. Sam apologizes to the clown. He says, I don't want to do this anymore. I'll make it all right. And then he wakes up. It's morning. Sun's out. Everything's fine. And they go downstairs. I guess it's Christmas morning. And their mom has a nice Christmas box to open. And everything is fine. And I don't. Did they have time to go to the store on Christmas morning and get her a gift? I wasn't sure about how the time worked here. But at the end, several things happen. Tucker returns the poem to Gary, who throws it on the fire, and we later see it says Samantha on it. Frank goes to Samantha to say, "So what? So you're going to go out with me? Oh, you never answered my question." And she ends up pouring water on him, saying he has to cool off. But she does it in a friendly sort of way. And then Gary says, "May I walk you home?" And she says, "Sure." And they walk off together. And Gary's distracted. The bucket of water is drained, and I don't think the fire went out. So this is the second time they've just left the fire going. Uh, so yeah, that's those two episodes. Don't mean to be in a hurry, but it is very late. But in the next two episodes, the next one, the last episode of season 3 is the one with Nev Campbell. It's called The Tale of the Dangerous Soup. That's an intriguing title. And then the one after that is The Tale of the Renegade Virus. That doesn't seem familiar. And it doesn't have any exciting guest stars that they're listing anyway. So that's that. And I'm going to leave it at that because I'd like to go to bed. And if you're watching this late at night, then I definitely say you should go to bed too if you're tired. And whether or not it's late at night, I'm obviously very tired. I don't know what I'm saying, except I know that I have to say, sweet dreams, everyone.